Here we go. Okay, welcome everyone. Here I am. Arthur Bablis is back, MBX Insights, and we got an awesome interview series today. It's been here. We were a fortnight ago. We're here with David Berriman, and we had a blue screen behind me because we were interviewing a masculine energy, and let's talk about bringing men more into this work of personal growth, the deep inner work, and supporting people to be able to rise up and become better human beings. And today we got another blue screen, which means I've got more masculine energy coming in, and I've got a gentleman I'm going to introduce you. I love this person. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for the last 2 years. He decided to do some training with us 2 years ago, and we've just gone on a journey together. We've got to know each other quite well, become great, good friends, and he's supporting me, I'm supporting him, and his mission to make a difference in rural Australia, I think is admirable and quite inspirational. I want to tell you a little bit about this gentleman. But as you know, let me. I got too excited, right? I want to introduce him straight away, but let's introduce really what we're doing here. It's our interview series. It's our MBX Insights, and really, Arthur Bablis says, that's me. We've been in this field for the last 25, 30 years in complementary medicine, personal growth, human performance, and really, our goal is to be able to help people to rise up to become better quality human beings. Actually, to help coaches become better coaches, for healers to become better healers, practitioners to become better practitioners, for therapists to become better therapists. And how do you do that? You do that by making a decision to actually master your craft and really become, people say, how do you become an authority in the industry? And it's not about the title that you have, but it's about the work that you do and who you become along the way. And so, do you hold yourself to a standard? Do you hold yourself to showing up on a regular basis and being the best you can be for yourself, for your family, for the clients that you work with, and this is why we do what we do, and this is really bringing me into introducing I'm going to say young man. He's a young man. He's younger than me. The gentleman I'm going to introduce today is because when we talk about standards, I've met this, I've met Josh now for the last 2 years, and I'm going to introduce him more formally, and I love the standards that he holds himself towards. Like, he's got his story, like we all do. We're going to hear about his story, and he's got standards that when he puts his mind towards something, he wants to give it his best shot. He wants to give it 100%, and he wants to make sure he leaves a mark. The way he lives his life, the relationship he has with his daughter, with his family, with his work. He is, I call him Australia's best shearer. He's a well-known shearer here in Australia. He's won a lot of awards. He does a lot of training in outback, when I say outback Australia, in rural Australia. And now he's not that he's pivoting, but he's decided to become a performance coach in high performance coaching, nutrition, mindset, positive psychology, and specifically to be able to take these tools, take these techniques to rural Australia to actually help, individuals, men, women, children, families in the outback who maybe don't get exposed to these tools and techniques on a regular basis that we do in the city. And so when we were talking, having a chat to Josh a couple of weeks back, I said, I'd love to have you on here to share your story and tell us what you do, because he's actually doing some exciting stuff. I want him to share that with you as well, in terms of what he's combining with his coaching. He said he jumped at the opportunity. So guys, I want everyone to put their hands together, whether you're watching live or you're watching replay. Let us know. Everyone, let's bring on down Josh Clayton. Come on down, Josh Clayton. And the crowd goes wild. Josh, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Great to have you here. Advanced lifestyle training, that's what you're about. But before we get into your business, man, what have you been up to? It's great to have you here.
Yeah, hey Arthur. Yeah, it's good to be here, mate. I appreciate you chucking me on. Always enjoy the show you put on. So mate, just enjoying the long weekend, hanging out with the family, just having a good time, mate.
Mate, I knew we were going to come on today. We're just going to have a yarn, mate. We're going to just roll up the sleeves, all right? It's like we're outside, we're around the campfire, we're just having a chat and just talking stuff and talking about us as human beings, talking about us as men, what we go through, what our responsibilities are, how we want to be able to show up for our families and for the people that we serve, and really just opening up, because I think in today's world there's so many stereotypes around men. And certainly, I suppose, more so, maybe this is my mind read, maybe you can help me out here, but more so, I suppose, men out in the rural area. You got the farmer, you got the station hand, you got, you got the roustabout, that is the salt of the land, type of person. And would they be open to this type of stuff? Would they be open to learn how to become a better quality human being? Would they be open to energy work? Would they be open to high performance? Would they be open to mindset stuff? And when you joined us a couple of years back, I thought, wow, this is awesome, because you're interested in all this stuff, but you're predominantly interested. You want to learn about this energy work, this kinesiology stuff. That's what gravitated you. And I thought, man, here's this guy from the country, and he wants to talk about energy. How cool is that? And so that really helped me debunk some of those myths, and getting to know you, realizing that's, there's a lot of people out there just like you who are looking for help. And I think that's where you're going with this work that you're doing. So it's great to have you here, Josh. Tell us a little bit how you started. I mean, what sort of got you in this field? Sort of gave a little lead up to everyone that you were a shearer. I call you Australia's best shearer, or shearer wants a wife. Shall we create a reality TV show? I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely crossed my mind, the shearer. Yeah, for sure.
And so tell us a bit about your story, because I had the pleasure of you being here about 12 months ago. We ran a masterclass here in Cronulla, right? Everyone knows I'm in Cronulla. Look, daylight saving, right? So I want to be able to show this shot, right? That's Cronulla outside today, right? So you'll be here in about a week's time, right? We'll be going on that walk and having some chats in the morning. We're doing some training. And you were here a year ago, and you were doing some training with us, and you shared your story. You got up, you shared your story, and you drew a wonderful image.
Yeah.
It really was a work of art. You got the marker pens, and you got the flip chart, and you drew an image, like you told your story through a picture. And I thought that was brilliant. So maybe you can help paint that picture for everyone that's on here, so they can know a little bit about Josh Clayton, and he can tell us what it is that you do.
Yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Thanks for the intro, Arthur. Yeah, so I'm Josh Clayton. I'm now a performance coach. I'm also a shearer trainer now. So I was a shearer for 22 years. It's pretty much the only thing I ever wanted to do. I grew up just out of Bathurst in New South Wales. So very rural area, about 3 hours from the city, I suppose. But yeah, so both my parents come off the land. Both families had farms. So I pretty much predominantly grew up just riding motorbikes and chasing sheep around and just working flat out since I was a young fella. My dad was very strong work ethic, as my mother does. So I was dragged along to work consistently, and then working on the farm. If anyone knows anything about farming, work never ends. Everyone wants to be a farmer on a good day, but I tell you what, they're some of the hardest workers in the world, I think. So yeah, so I just...
Mate, I've just switched over to speak of you, so when you're talking, the whole world can see a bigger picture of you. So go for it, mate. So I agree. I suppose is it just out in the rural? Everyone wants to be a farmer on a good day, but not on a bad day. I think that's almost like is that a belief system that a lot of us take on board? Like when we have good days, where people want to do what we do, but when we have bad days, we don't want to be doing what we do. And how many bad days compared to good days do farmers have? The shearers have.
Yeah, it's all 50-50, isn't it? It's what you make the day, really. At the end of the day, that's how you perceive it. Yeah, but it's like any, farmers are successful. If they're not successful at what they do, well, then they can't make a living, and they can't, run their stock, the best they can effectively as a business, and, as people as well. So yeah, it's just important that I think everyone, takes a step back and, make sure they look after themselves, mental health, have achievable goals, and that way they can move forward step by step. And that's what I like to do. I like to work with individuals. I've even worked with couples as well, set out their goals, and then, long-term planning, and then slowly step it back, reverse engineer it. And that way, everything that seems really overwhelming, once we break it down, we make it achievable. And that's just one of the processes I approach people in the country with, and it seems to be working really effectively.
Oh, look, I love the way you said reverse engineer it, because that's really, when you think about this world of coaching and in today's world, and really, I'd say from the 80s, 90s, last 2 or 3 decades, it's been that, what are the outcomes that you want to achieve, and how do you reverse engineer it to get that? And I think that's important in the coaching world, but it's more than that, I believe. It's not just about getting that extrinsic stuff and achieving the result. It's about for me, the person that you become along the way and who you need to be now in order for you to bring in those results and to keep them. So tell me more about that, because your story, and I'm going to give you time, I'm not going to interrupt you here, because your story, for me, when you told your story, mate, it showed, you know, we do that positive psychology exercise, right? We write down, people tell us about their story, write down their strengths, right? And for me, I was looking at someone who, resilience, perseverance, a devoted love, an ability to love and be vulnerable. I mean, and they were like, that's sexy in a man, mate. That's you're quite sexy when telling a story. So share that, because you know, as you know, Josh, we say in our trainings, right, what we think is most personal to us is actually most general to everyone else. And so by hearing other people's story, people heal. And while you're doing that, look, I'll look at the comments here and I'll let you know if anyone provides any comments. We've got Crystal here from the Philippines. She's saying, love this. All right, so if you guys are watching, just let me know you're watching live, where you're watching from, who's here. And if you've got a question for Josh, just put it in the chat, in the Facebook Live. We're here in our group, World Class Mindset and Coaching Secrets, and I'll just ask Josh. And even if you're watching this as a replay, let us know with a replay and ask the question of Josh, and he'll reply when he gets to it. So, all right, mate, you got the floor. Tell us a bit about what's going on.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I grew up in the land, and then like my passion was shearing, and it still is today. Like, you know, it's like a drug, you can't get it out of your system, and when something is your passion, I think you refer everything in life back to that. I think you'd agree with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so my dad, he was a really good shearer. He was a great shed shearer, and he taught me the foundations, and like I said, the work ethic. And then, you know, once young Josh got his license, I was up the dusty track. I was just gypsy life shearing.
Dusty track, man.
Dusty
I love
track.
your colloquialism. Hey, we got Chris from Yass watching, mate. I think I introduced you to Chris a couple of weeks back. He gave you a buzz. Awesome guy when you get to meet him. He's watching live, so he's listening in to you, Joshy.
Yeah. So I just started shearing, and I've been pretty lucky. Fell into some pretty good environments. With like any industry, there's good and there's bad, and I was pretty lucky. I fell into a good environment, and I started, hanging around these really, really good shearers. And there's a few different disciplines of shearing. There's obviously got in-shed shearing, which is highly competitive, very competitive sport. And then you've got like sport shearing, and then speed shearing, and then world record shearings. And I guess everyone's got strengths. Like you're saying, we talk about character strengths, and I was always drawn to the longer, more endurance events. Maybe it's just my build. I was a bit of a cross-country runner at school. I was never really a sprinter. I wouldn't say I'm an outrageously strong person. I'm always pretty lean. So I guess endurance sort of suits me a lot better. And yeah, I don't know. I've always had this thought in the back of my head that I could really achieve something really great. So anyway, as life does, got on the journey, and, peaks and troughs, you're chasing your dream as a young fella, and you're sort of getting sidetracked. And yeah, and then I ended up going to New Zealand and shearing over there, and that really changed my life. I spent about 9 months over there the first time I went over, and shearing in New Zealand, like shearing in Australia is fantastic. Like the culture's awesome, but in New Zealand, they're treated like All Blacks over there. It's like a whole nother level, and they take it very, very serious. And like I said, I was lucky to fall into some good teams over there and work with some of the best shearers in the world. And I just kept working at my craft sort of silently, chipping away. And then I built myself up where I could, have a real good go at things. And I committed to attempting a shearing world record in 2019. So it took me about 10 years probably to get there. So 2012, I was pretty lucky. I was pretty settled in a little town called Youngs, and my life was all going pretty sweet. And then, just started training. And like I said, took a fair while to build myself up to being an elite standard. And then, obviously life started to change a little bit. And my partner at the time ended up getting quite sick. So that put a bit of a spinner in things, I guess. Yeah. But, so that's where the journey changes, I guess. Yeah. I always find it difficult to talk about.
Yeah, but that's you, my brother. I mean, that's, like you've gone through that journey, and you've gone through those trials and tribulations. That's what makes you who you are. You talked about, you attempted a world record. That's endurance. It's not a sprint. It's not a golden slipper, mate. It's a Melbourne Cup. Even beyond that, it's the Irish Ledger. You even had to jump hurdles, right?
For sure, yeah.
Right. And when you talk about endurance, mate, it's about, how do you prepare yourself physically, number one, to be able to get to the end and attempt a world record and did you break the record or you came close? What happened with that?
Pretty close. So we had a bit of a tough lead up the week before, just with weather. Like it's a very seasonal dependent sort of game. You sort of got to put a date on it and sort of work around that. And we ended up pretty unlucky. We got about 90 mil of rain sort of leading up to it, and then we ended up getting a really cold day. But that's life. Like, you had to play the cards you dealt sometimes. And some people are like, it's a good idea. I was like, of course it's a good idea. I was like, it's on, everything's ready to go. And we're on target till lunchtime. And unfortunately the day, instead of the sun coming out, it ended up like hailing through this shed, and I'd go in to grab a sheet. They got the towels down, wiping the floor as I'm coming out. It was there. It's like Mother Nature.
So, I mean, you gave it a good crack. You came close. So how many sheep did you shear that day?
They were merino ewes and 454.
454 sheep.
Yeah. So I needed 467 to break down.
How many hours did you do that, mate?
8 hours.
8 hours. 450 sheep. You needed 467. So you only got 10 sheep away from it, right? Okay. And we're talking about in 8 hours, you're doing what? Close to, what's that, mate? That's
2 hours. I was trying to aim for 1 a minute, and that would have given me
1 a minute.
That's like 480 for the day. That would have been nice. That's catch and drag, have a drink. You're changing a cutter every, or in those sheep, we're changing them about every 11 minutes, I think we're changing a cutter. So it's very precise. And if you break it all down, it's probably only about 2 seconds per sheep that I missed the record by. So that's only 1, 2. But that's over all day. That's a compound effect.
Yeah.
So
that's endurance, right? So, and look, in just missing out on the world record, but achieving something that you probably thought you wouldn't be able to do to get to the stage that you did, and then the commitment and the energy and the time and the focus that you put in to get there. So that's endurance, my friend. Now that shows that you're up for a battle.
And
we'll talk about that, but that wasn't the biggest battle you fought, mate.
No, it wasn't. So prior to that, we ended up, we done as a bit of a fundraiser as well. So my partner, Hayley, she got diagnosed with motor neurone disease. So, yeah, pretty cruel disease, that's for sure. But
you stuck by her, mate. You stuck by her and supported all the way. I mean, the story you told when you drew, the mountains and the birds and the river, and you told the story. But you know what? Hayley lives on now through Stella, right? You've got a beautiful young daughter, Stella, and I've met Stella, and she's just, I know you'll do anything for her. But what did you tell me? Because that's your story, and we're not going to get into the story. Obviously, people get an idea. Obviously, Hayley had MND, and that was her battle. And obviously, we know with this work that we do, mate, we're energetic beings having our physical experience. So we chose to have this physical experience with that soul, right? You and Hayley came together for a specific reason, for learnings that only you two can have together, my friend. Yeah. Right? And that's made you the person you are today.
Yeah, that's right. So a big thing on that journey that I would like to talk about is definitely the health side of it, but probably the power of food. So MND, there's no cure at all. So we went down this huge holistic road that I sort of grew up in the bush. It's all pretty straightforward. Never really got into a lot of nutrition and stuff. We're pretty lucky. We had
probably more Captain Morgan than nutrition, right?
Yeah. Oh, sometimes though, we're pretty good. I was pretty lucky. My mum's a good cook and my dad's a good cook. So, we had fresh meat all the time and fresh veggies. And, as far as stuff goes like that, like, both my grandfathers lived till well in their 90s. Like, living in rural land, you have this huge opportunity to have fresh, organic, if you choose to, all this amazing food. But with Hayley's journey, so there was no cure. And with the trials and stuff like that, it's a placebo, so it's 50-50. Interesting story. The Justin Newbury, he's actually the leading MND researcher for Australia, I think, but he's at Illawarra University or wherever he works up there, and he's actually Hayley's first cousin. So Hayley's family, actually, a lot of them, it's a genetic gene they have. So it's really, so it's a pretty amazing story. If everyone wants to look up Justin Newbury, and there's actually who was it? ABC They done a, it's called The Enemy Within. It's ABC Storyline.
Yeah. Probably.
Australian
Maybe.
Story. Australian Story, The Enemy Within. Check that out. That'll check Justin Newbury out. He actually has MND, and he's still researching, to take on this beast. But I'll get back on track. So with Hayley's journey, so with no cure in sight, and Hayley seeing this with her family, like her mum and her sister and her brother all passed away from it, unfortunately, and so she actually went and done a 21-day water fast, which I tell you what, if you've seen a woman give birth and go without food for 21 days, I tell you what, you talk about superiority. But that goes out to all mothers too, and all all dads and that. Like when you're a day in, day out parent, but it's
like you are now. Right?
Yeah,
you are now. You're sole parent of Stella, right?
Yeah. So now that opened up my eyes to the power of food. So we went on this. Hayley was there for 21 days. I wasn't there for the whole lot over in Bali. So we had people there was someone with Lyme's disease, testicular cancer, brain tumors, a couple of other cancers like that. And just seeing, all their tests before they go there, what they go through. And then when they come back, some of them have passed away, unfortunately, but Hayley being one of them. And I think there's still a few that have, chose that natural route, and they're still living very healthy. So it really opened my eyes up in regards to processed foods, all your sugars, things like that. And even things like, so one thing I did take away from that one saying is, like, if you're not willing to put it in your mouth, don't put it on your skin. Things like that. If you can incorporate things like that into your life, which is, a simple habit, like, some people, you could say sunscreen or, diesel, anything, if you're not going to put it in your mouth, don't put it on your skin. You've got to be careful. That's our biggest organ at the end of the day, our skin. So we've got to be really careful with all those sorts of things. But yeah, that was a big eye opener for me. That was one part of the journey that I really, I've taken home, and I've lived on as much as I can through Stella. And then now what I do with sports nutrition and hydration,
So that opened up opened you up to, what do we need to do to ourselves, mind, body, and everything else in order for us to live a better quality of life. And really that's how we met. You talked about young. We had a lovely lady, Jan, right? Jan, I keep remembering Jan was doing a live the other day, and she popped on. I remember the fudges that she used to bring from young. She used to come to class and bring me some homemade fudge, bit of wild turkey inside it as well too, wild turkey fudge. It was awesome, right? And so I think Jan introduced you to us, and then that's how we met. And so Jan's a kinesiologist and energetic healer, does a lot of this work. And so, you were going to her for some support, right? Or you met her from there. And so you're open to, so obviously the journey that we're on opens you to how do we look after our minds and bodies a little bit better. And so tell us a bit about that journey, because you want to, you do it more holistically than most people, because you went and done your nutrition qualification, you've done your body, your movement qualification, you've done your mindset qualification, your NLP, your hypnosis, and you bring a lot of these other products into your business as well too. So tell us more about that, because I think that's the legacy that you want to live, right? And then you want to be able to create a positive ripple effect within rural Australia, and not only with mental health for people out that way, but also physically to be able to be doing what they need to do, because as you said, they're working the crack of dawn. I mean, you're up at 4:30, right?
Early bird gets the worm, mate.
Right. Yeah. And doing what you need to do, working the land, and juggling your family as well too. So tell us more about your business then, Josh.
Yeah, I'll just have a shout out to Jan. Hi, Jan. She is an amazing practitioner. She's a master practitioner. She's done all your stuff through all the stuff through MBX. So I actually went to Jan. I'll just touch on this because I'd just love to tell this how I got into this.
So Jan Hart in Young, everyone. So if you want to call out to Jan Hart
sure.
in Young.
Yeah, so I was looking for sports psychology, sort of, and out in the bush, it's quite a difficult thing to find. And I heard that Jan does the kinesiology, and I went out there and she picked me apart. She's like, and yeah, she done. She was amazing, and I ended up using her for quite a few months, and leading up to the record attempt, we've done a lot of visualization stuff, and she's also a masseuse as well. She's a massage therapist. That's what we call it. Yep. Yeah. So she's very versatile as a practitioner. And I'd just like to say thanks to Jan, because she was amazing and give me a lot of support. So thank you very much. Yeah, but in my business, so what I do at Advanced Lifestyle Training, yeah, so I have jump on my website, advancedlifestyletraining.com.au. So what we do, I offer a couple of really good programs, optimized program where it's based, I work with a lot of athletes from any sport. It can be like a team sport, say like rugby league, go Panthers for the win. And then, we
got to check out your back of your hair, mate. What'd you do for last night, mate? There you go. Is that a Panther thing, right?
I didn't go very long, but it's a shout out to me mate Bruno, who cut that in last night. You don't want to see his hair.
Okay.
But, yeah, but that's okay. I've had a few wild haircuts in my day, but.
So you integrating your stuff in team sport. I mean, we chatted on, and you want to work with individuals in terms of athletes. I mean, obviously, in shearing training, also helping shearers be able to build a better quality in terms of their health to be able to last and do what they need to do. But team sports and also out in the country, like in kids areas, kids sports and things like that, that stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So like young, promising junior, males and females that are, trying to take that next step, because it's a big step. I seen with a couple of, fellas my age, because obviously I was focused on the shearing, there's been terrific rugby league players, for example, just one code coming out of, rural Australia, New South Wales. So last night they had the winger from Forbes, the lock captain from Dubbo, and then I thought probably the best player on field was the second rower, Martin from Temora. He had a cracking game. He's tough as
Liam Martin. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah.
And yeah, so with that, I'll just finish up with that optimized program. So what we do a sports nutrition consult. We go over their diet, like before games, training, how many times they're training a week. We go through the whole week. Then we do a sweat test, which is a very unique, low active sweat test, the best way to put it. So we're not on a treadmill. We don't have the big VO2 mask or anything on. What we do is we stimulate the sweat glands. I actually don't have it here. I'm just in my home office. It's at the headquarters. But yeah, we just stimulate the sweat glands, and then we just put over, it's like a little wristwatch, and then it just draws the sodium out, and it works out how much sodium you lose per, how many millimole per liter of sweat. And what I can do with that, then I can come up with a very precise hydration plan through a company, Precision Hydration, who I've partnered with. Precision Hydration, amazing company. Andy Blow, he actually used to work for Williams. He was a sports scientist, very, very smart man. And he's come up with, he's co-founder of the Precision Hydration. And we've got 3 different levels. We've got a 1500, a 1000 and a 500. And what that stands for is the milligrams of sodium you'll have per serving. So if you look at other hydrations, say like your orange one from the chemist, the Hydrolyte brand, about 140 grams of sodium in it. Yeah, it's good if you're a bit crook and, you're not feeling the best, but if you want to be at your optimum and you want to actually have an edge, or you want to be the best you can be, that you've got to be more onto it than that. Even a lot of other Hydrolyte stuff that,
And not just athletes, right? We're talking about anyone, and especially if you've got more active work. I know, Chris is listening, and man, he's on rigs and everything else out in Yass, doing construction, all that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be your best physically, right?
Yeah, I was talking to a good mate of mine, Curb. He works in the tunnels up in Brisbane and stuff. He was prior, and he was saying that like they're working, in some big heat underground. And I actually give him a sweat test. I was just like, jump on this machine, mate. We'll sort you out. And so, he's sodium loading before he goes to work, and then he's managing his sodium as well. So if you think of it like your day's work, whether you're out fencing, farming, stock work out in the sun, or you're tunneling, shearing. So if your hydration starts here, by the end of the day, you get to here, you want to start here and end up here. That makes sense. You don't want to end up down there.
Yeah.
And that's what I work with. And with that optimized program as well, we also do some NLP work, which a lot of people sort of look at me a bit funny at the start. I say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And you know what? Touch wood, I've never had any issues.
So what do you actually do? Okay, so your first program, the optimized program, you actually look at the nutrition, and you look at the diet, and you look at hydration, number key, right? To make sure that, the water levels, hydration levels are putting you in the best position to get the best results. And then you do some mindset stuff, or you use some NLP or whatever. So what are the things that you do with them at that optimized level? Because then you've got your next level, which brings in more of the positive psychology and more the lifestyle things. And So tell us what are the things that you do at the front level and what you do at the end and how that's working for you, maybe some results.
Yeah. So what we're doing at the optimized level, we're doing the sports consult. So I get a food diary and we're just working out exactly, because a lot of people aren't understanding, and I probably didn't understand the most until I started, actually doing my courses. I've done my course through Nutrition Pro. Tom Fox, legend. Do not hesitate to give him a call if you want to get qualified. And also I'm doing a mentorship with Kira Sutherland. I know you know.
Kira, hey! Awesome,
And,
Kira. I like Kira.
And yeah, Tom and Kira, I don't know if they know each other. One's from Brisbane, one's from Northern Beaches, I think Kira is. But yeah, she is amazing. She coached that many Olympic athletes. Her insights to nutrition is just, she's next level. So
Now, have you got into a medical astrology as well? She done some astrology with you?
yeah, no, she hasn't done any astrology. No.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so we do the consult, the sweat test. So we get a new nutrition plan, or I just try and complement. A lot of coaching is just complementing people's existing lifestyles and habits, which I think is important. You don't need to, a good steady tweak's better than a big bend, I find, when you're coaching people.
Chris is saying he's very intrigued about the sodium levels, mate. He wants to know more about the hydration stuff. I think he's going to give you a buzz.
Yeah,
right?
cool.
Yes. So, okay, so you do that. And from a mindset perspective, what do you do at that optimized level? What do you use some of the tools to actually help with their attachments to food and change the behavior with food?
Yep. So they're representation systems. Yep. So we're doing some modality changes. Yep. Through the NLP techniques that we learned at MBX. So
that's where people might have an addiction to something or a craving for a specific food. You can actually curb that craving so they don't have that need for that food anymore. So not only are they starting to eat healthy, they don't have that craving for that food.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I can say a result that I got. So I just finished a program with a young fella, young shearer, good promising young shearer. His name's Lee. And he had a bit of a thing with berry bliss lollies. Like, he loves lollies. So anyway, we ended up, we done his sub-modalities and we changed them, and now he doesn't have his berry bliss anymore. He's taken all that sugar out of his diet straight away, So, and if anyone isn't aware, if you're eating, a heap of sugar, say 30 minutes before an event or before you start shearing, you're going to have this massive spike, and what goes up must come down. So, you're teaching people about, sugar blood levels and blood sugar levels. Sorry, I look at it as in, like, I'm educating people. I think education is the way of the future, and that's where advanced lifestyle training is going to go. We're going to, if you catch a man a fish, he eats for the day. You teach a man to fish, he's eaten good for a long time. And
so, you're coming to Sydney now to become an advanced trainer, mate. So in the next 2 days and the 2 weeks we'll spend together, because you're going to position yourself as the main trainer out in the rural Australia, mate, taking these tools out there and making a difference. And that's really what life's about, right? As you said, teach a man how to fish and
feed his family, feed his health, feed his town. So
okay, so that's the optimized program. Then when you go into your next one, what else do you add in? Tell me about, because you got an affinity towards the positive psychology stuff. You love that work, mate.
Yeah, I do like the positive psychology, because a good mate of mine, he actually said, I don't know, I know we didn't get into Haley's journey a lot, but through all that and then the record, and it didn't work out. And then we actually went to WA to attempt it again, and we didn't end up actually doing it, but it was obviously a hard journey. And my mate's just like, how do you keep smiling? I was like, hey, he goes, you've just weaponized positivity. That's what you've done. And that's what and it's true. Like,
weaponized positivity. That trademark that, mate. Awesome.
Yeah. And it is. It's just a matter of, finding the good in everything, and there's always someone having a lot worse day than you. And I know that I'd had a lot worse days prior than what I did to that. And they've come to.
And really, that's what, and when I look at you and I talk about strength and resilience and vulnerability, to find the good that came out of, Haley's journey and her battle with MND, and the journey that you had to be part of the life and what you went through, to find the good in that and to be able to use that as your fuel to make a difference. That's just something special about you, Josh. It really does.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. And I do work with people that are going through a bit of grief, and obviously early you can see that it still plays a toll on me. Like, people that are special in your life, and if they leave you, well,
But Josh, that's why people would come and see you, my friend, because you've been there and you feel it. You're not just reading it out of a textbook. You're not just saying, hey, here's what you do, and without actually having experienced it. That what makes you authentic, real. You're not just a guy from the bush or a shearer and have a good yarn with. You're actually someone who's real, is prepared to actually, show their scars and say, hey, I'm here to support you because I've gone through it myself.
Yeah, and it's about contribution now. Like I'm 38, so like you're not going to be a young fella forever. I was a bull at a gate for well over a decade, just trying to live.
38, right? Put those numbers together, 3 and that makes 11. So it's a master year for you, my friend.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. So, being a bull at a gate now, I've sort of taken, a couple of steps back, and I'm pretty lucky. My life's moving. Well, it's always going to move on. Everyone's life's going to move on. I'm pretty lucky, and where I am now, my little family's grown. So I've got 3 kids, and another partner.
3 kids now.
Yeah, 3 kids. It went from 1 to 3. It's a good jump. Yeah, but I'm very lucky.
Well, how'd that happen, mate? Should we talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, so I've been lucky enough that I've found love again, and that's just for everyone out there. Everyone's going through, whether it be a breakup or a loss to any extent. Like you've just got to hang in there, and yeah. So it was like 4 years, I think, something like that. Yeah, and I met this beautiful, amazing lady, Cassandra. She'll be listening to this, so I'll give her a kiss. She's actually.
I'll give her a kiss too, mate, because I've met her. I had the pleasure of meeting both of you guys. You were up at Terrigal early in the year, and I came up and I met Cass down and the family, and you had a bit of a. Well, you're cooking. You had put a nice meal together for everyone.
Oh, I love cooking. I've got it. Yeah, can cook, and I think cooking is something that I try and push on to people that I push on. I encourage is probably the best way to put it, and I think cooking is really, people overcomplicate it. They might put eight different ingredients in there and stress themselves out, but you just got to work with that plate real estate. And, if people want to give me a call, I'm happy to talk about the plate real estate, how much, we're talking about macronutrients with our protein, our carbs and our fats, and, micronutrients when we get into the nitty gritty of it. And it's just, at the end of the day, we should be eating and drinking like our life depends on it every day, because it does. At the end of the day,
Mate, tell me, I'm going to go a little bit about left field here, right? Because you're going to do this, right? Because what's life about? Life's about the quality of relationships that you have, right? And you open up the door. You said you met a beautiful soul, Cass, after 4 years. So, and to be able to bring someone else in your life. So, and I know it's a challenge, mate. We have to work on ourselves to become better quality human beings, to be able to show up for the people that we care about. But, I haven't been through what you've been through. I've gone through my own journey. But for you, having gone through what you went with Hayley, to then allow yourself to open up again, to allow yourself to experience love, and what are some of the challenges that you had to go through in terms of allowing yourself to express yourself? Or did you ever, in your mind, get into that comparison frame? Or because people think this, right? I mean, so how did you do it to be able to go through this roller coaster ride that we all have in relationships to come out the other end and flourishing with Cass and and have your family grown with her kids as well too?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And the first part of that question, or the first part of that answer, mate, is no, I don't compare. I don't compare, period. I've never really compared girlfriends, not that I have a lot of them. But like, I'm not a comparer. As soon as I met Cass, I was just like something clicked anyway. Like it was, she's her own person, I'm my own person. We were both pretty fiercely independent people when we met. So we got to, work a few things out, work a few creases out, if you like. But, that's just standard. But we really, I know, when we're together, I
want to stop you there, because I was just doing this training on Saturday, and it was awesome. We're talking about relationships and codependency, going from codependent to independent. And really, the fact that relationships exist in this Western world, we sort of create this codependency, like we're relying on each other, having kids, get married, whatever the case is. And then we go through our journey, and then people jump on this independent horse. But are they doing it from a detached way, or are they still doing it with a charge because they haven't healed the wounds, right? And when we don't heal the wounds, we bring that stuff with us. And so, but when you can heal those wounds and learn from the past, and you come from a independent perspective, you realize it's no longer where you need to be on your own and it's about me, it's about interdependence, where you can go on this journey of being the wind under each other's wings so you both grow, but are giving each other space to be the individual people as well too that you need to be without the need of the attachment. I think that's what's special. I think that's where relationships are headed, and I think that's the secret to success in anything in life, not just on a personal level, but the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. And I think you're discovering the Holy Grail there, mate. To go through what you've gone through, to be able to establish what you established with Haley, and then for that to then reflect into your relationships with people, your colleagues, your workers, and your business. That's how your business is going to thrive.
Yeah, that's right. So I think I'm not a real estate relationship coach by any means, but I think definitely if you can just treat each other like you're the two most amazing people in the world and compliment each other. And I'm someone who will talk to a stranger. I'll go out of my way to talk to a stranger, especially if I get a good vibe, if I get that energy off them, especially if they're mature age, like if they're a grandparent age, what I'd say, I'll always ask them about advice on relationships and marriage, or if I see people really happy, like they're older, and I always ask them, and I ask people whose children, whether they're some of the most successful people I've known, which I've asked, and then I've asked people who just have really, really, really amazing children who probably will be very successful as they get older.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting, a lot of the comments you get. So it is probably the best one for the relationships was, you've got to be willing to sacrifice and compromise. And that's like anything, that's a job or, commitment generally, sacrifice. And then with the parenting, I got some really, really good advice, and it's pretty plain, but it really works, I think. And that was from a fella, Colin Baines from New Zealand. And he said, mate, you've just got to put the work into them. If you put work into your kids, like the time, that's how I interpret it, the time and the effort into your kids. And his kids, he's got, met all but one of them. There's 4 or 5, I think. Don't quote me, you guys, if you watch this. But they're awesome people, and they're so well mannered, and they're successful at what they do, and they're just great people. So he's just a guy. He also gave me a heap of free venison too. So cheers, Carl.
So mate, so you got Stella. Tell us, how old is Stella?
7.
7. So you're a 7-year-old beautiful little girl. What would Stella say? Why does she love her dad?
Why?
Yeah. What's the best thing that Stella sees in her dad?
She reckons I'm the best dancer she's ever seen.
Best dancer.
And I stick to that. Best thing. Yeah. I'm the same guy that dances in the kitchen a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I love it because you do the training programs with us, and you're inclusive, right? She comes on the screen, she's part of what it is that you do, and we just finished a program, right? The NLP Master Prac, which is quite intense. That program was quite full on for a lot of people. We face our stuff, and you went through a huge breakthrough, and she was there for that, and then watching the video, like the summary of it. How was that for you, having your daughter there while you were actually going through something to help you become a better man?
Yeah, like you said, it is a big immersion. It was 14 days, so I had a lot of support from Cass and my sister as well, who helps me a lot. And I've got an amazing sister, so I love you very much, Emma. If you watch this, you're amazing, and her and her partner and her kids, they help me out a lot too. So I'm very lucky I'm a product of my environment a lot as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was amazing. It's good to, for kids to see vulnerability. Cass and I are always talking about, she's a very smart woman, she's an exceptional mother. So we're always talking about, how to work with kids, and, it might be only a little deal in our eyes, say when they chuck their little bit of a tanty or whatever, but to them, it's their whole world. That toy or that moment is just like this massive breakdown, but I think it's good that Stella and White and Ivy also get to see, at a vulnerable state, to say, okay, it's okay to show your feelings. Like, it's not the end of the world, but, at the end of the day, you've got to get back up on the horse and you've got to move forward, because if you don't learn the lesson, well, then you're just going to keep repeating the lesson.
You got to drag that merino back in, mate.
Yeah, that's right. The only way out of them's through them.
Yeah.
That's what they reckon.
So, look, mate, we've been on for about 45, 50 minutes, so we can just talk all day, right? And look, if people want to have Josh part 2, just put a part 2 in the comments, and we'll see how many people say part 2, because I'm sure they might want to hear some relationship advice from you, Josh, now that you've been able to crack the code. when you've got Cass in your life, and parenting advice. I mean, I really love, seeing Still on the screens and the work that you do with her. But just to finish off, so people can, get hold of you. But obviously, advancedlifestyletraining.com. We'll put that in the comments so people can connect with you. And you've got your 3 programs. You've got the Optimize, so nutrition and sweat testing and all that type of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, we got Patricia saying part 2, Dean saying part 2, so everyone's saying part 2 already, mate. And then the second program, you bring more of the positive psychology, more of the mindset stuff. And tell us a little bit more about that middle program, because that's really where you get a chance to spend a bit more time with them and create some long-lasting change for them.
Yeah, for sure. So then we're working on the positive. There's probably a lot more tasks for them to do, not overly, like it's not a, over the top amount of work to do at home. But like, as we both know, if you're going to work on yourself, you've got to do that work at the end of the day, and you need to, do these tasks and, acquire what other people think your strengths are, what you think your strengths are. And then, we're complementing and we're taking on your challenges with your strengths. So, your best qualities are going to get you your best results at the end of the day, I think. So yeah, we're doing the positive psychology, and then we're also doing like limiting beliefs, more NLP stuff, and then some behavioral stuff as well with swish patterns and it's some really powerful stuff. And I've been getting great results with the swish patterns as well, which is good.
And what can people expect? What's the end result? Why would they come and see you? What do you, when you say promise them your program, what does it deliver?
Well, it delivers
for the client that puts in.
It's the map before they go into the forest. That's what it is at the end of the day, right? So at the end of that, we're also doing like a long-term planning as well. And then we're doing a bit of timeline therapy when we're creating the future, when we can go in, a bit of visualization, just to say it quickly. But that long-term planning gives people a lot of clarity, and it gets them, you can get, all their big goals they want to do for 12 months, what they want to achieve. Like we said, we're going to break them into quarters, into months, into weeks, into days, into tasks. And your brain's like a heat-seeking missile. Once it sees the goal, it's going to find a way to get there. And if you've got, someone keeping you accountable and support through my coaching, well then, if the sky's the limit for you, well, that's where we go.
Divide and conquer, eh?
Commit and conquer, brother.
Commit and conquer. That's commit and conquer. Mate, look, I want to thank you for being on today. We have gone 50 minutes, and we might do a part 2 coming up in a couple of months' time. Get a little bit more personal. Maybe you'll have some more tips on parenting and some relationships. But I want to thank you, Josh, for again coming on and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and telling your story. And I know every time we talk about Hayley, stuff comes up, and you know what? That's what makes you special. That makes you beautiful. You got a beautiful soul, my friend. I've got all the time for you, and I'm looking forward to doing more work with you and continue doing some work with you, because I think you've got a huge mission. And the outback Australia, rural Australia ain't going to be the same when Josh Clayton hits the town. And so you're just outside Bathurst. You're in Oberon, right? So Oberon, just outside Bathurst, and we're getting a few more people coming from rural Australia doing some stuff with us. I've been on the call today. They'll probably connect with you. So for anyone that's been here and you want to get hold of Josh, just get hold of his website. It's already there in the comments, guys. Or just leave a message, ask a question, leave a message, and Josh will reach out to you, and I'll say hi as well too. And maybe he can give you an experience on the sweat test you've got, and so you can measure your sodium levels and where you're at with that to make sure you're performing at your peak, and then open up the door to what else that you can do to support them, especially if you're out there in rural Australia.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for having me, Arthur. Like, I'm a huge fan of yourself, MBX. I love our time together. I'm looking forward to our training over the next few weeks. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, throw them in the comments, and I'm more than happy to get back to them. But yeah, in regards, if you're just, looking for just a little bit of a tweak, bit of an advantage in your day-to-day life, or as an athlete, or as a, just as a general man or woman, just feel free to reach out. And that optimized program is, it's only a couple of hours work, and, it can really make a huge difference in your life. It's a good little stepping stone for people to get to the top.
Mate, you get hold of this guy. He's weaponized positivity, and he's going to help bring that into your life as well too.